Why hello, welcome back. My name is Ari and today I'm going to talk about my most anticipated releases for 2024. But before I go through these, I do want to talk about, I'm going to call it the elephant in the room, though it's not really the elephant in the room, Alecto the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I still don't have a release date for it, so even though it was on my anticipated releases for like the past 2 years, I'm not going to officially put it on this list this time because I have no idea if it's coming out in 2024 or not. I don't know if this is ever coming out. I'm looking forward to more lesbian necromancers once it does come out. I just don't know when it's going to come out. But without further ado, let's get into the actual top 10 list of my 10 most anticipated releases. First off, I have House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. This is the third book in the Crescent City quartet. I think it's supposed to be 4 books, but this is the third Crescent City book. I know a lot of people were like really disappointed with the second book. Like they loved the first book, didn't like the second book, and then they're not looking forward to the third book because they didn't like the second book as much. I kind of felt the same about both of those books. I, on the other hand, loved the ending of book 2, and I am so looking forward to where we're going to start book 3 and the characters. And I'm not going to spoil it, but oh my gosh, I am going to read this in February, or maybe I'm going to start it on the last day of January when this comes out. I've definitely pre-ordered this. Next up, on February 13th, What Feast at Night, which is the sequel to What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, comes out. I'm not really sure where this is going to go. The cover is quite horrifying, and I like T. Kingfisher. The first book, What Moves the Dead, was a retelling of the fall of the House of Usher. I don't know if What Feasts the Night like continues with that theme or if it's going somewhere else entirely, but I like T. Kingfisher's writing, so it doesn't matter. I'm still gonna read this. Another book coming out on February 13th is also a horror. It's The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. Now, Catherine Arden wrote the Bear and the Nightingale trilogy, which a lot of you may be familiar with. She also wrote middle grade horror, and I read one of those books. It wasn't really for me. I want my horror a bit spookier than the middle graders are going to get, and I believe this is adult horror, so I'm very excited. I hope I love this. Next up, the only thriller author that I like, Simone St. James. On March 5th, she is releasing Murder Road. This is going to be some sort of ghost story, because like thriller ghost. So it's horror, so it's like a thriller plotline with ghost. I believe this has something to do with like a not very often used road where a lot of people die going down this road, which is implied by Murder Road, I think. But yeah, I just love Simone St. James, so I'm always going to look forward to her books. Then continuing on my I'm reading nothing but horror this year, apparently, trend, I have The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones coming out on March 26th. This is the third book in the Indian Lake trilogy. The first one is My Heart is a Chainsaw, I believe, and it's about this girl who thinks she's in a horror movie. She thinks she's the final girl in a horror movie, and is just like super freaking obsessed with slashers, and then ends up in like a real life slasher far too many times for her own good. So I like this character. I like these books. I'm definitely looking forward to finishing out this trilogy. I know you're going to be shocked to find out that the next book on this list is another horror, and this is Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes, coming out on April 9th. This is like horror in an isolated setting because it's on a space station. I really liked Dead Silence that she released last year. I gave it 4 stars, but in hindsight it's probably a 5-star read, so I'm looking forward to reading this because I don't know if I like space horror, if I just like this author. Space horror. Continuing on this I'm not reading fantasy this year trend, I have a thriller. This is One of Us Knows by Alyssa Cole, coming out on April 16th. I read her book When No One Is Watching a couple of years ago and I really, really liked it. I have never read any Alyssa Cole's romance because I'm not interested, but I liked her last thriller and I'm excited to know that I'm excited about a thriller because I rarely like thrillers. On May 21st, we get a fantasy book, and that is Goddess of the River by Vaishnavi Patel. I read Kaikii by her last year and really, really loved it. I'm looking forward to another like Indian mythology retelling from a feminist perspective, which I assume is what I'm gonna get from Goddess of the River. We're going right back to horror with number 9, Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. Chuck Tingle is a fantastic queer horror writer. I don't even know what this is about. All I know is Chuck Tingle's name is on it and it's queer horror and I'm going to read it, and that is all I need. In the final book, we get one last fantasy. This is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, out on September 20th. This is some sort of dark fantasy retelling because that's what T. Kingfisher writes. I don't know what it's about. I just know it's T. Kingfisher and that is a fairy tale retelling. And that's all I need to know to want to read this book. Those are my 10 books that I am most excited for in at least the first half of next year. I'm sure there are going to be other books. They just haven't been announced yet. Let me know down in the comments below what books you are looking forward to the most in 2024. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!